This is Mike and Andrew from Plus One Presents.
And you are listening to Word on the Street.
All right, here we are back again with another version of Word on the Street. I'm your host, The Zim of The Zim and A-Rock, and this is where we discover and celebrate the culture of the Seattle music scene. And today on the podcast, we have Seattle DJ Academy with Eva, Shane, Evan, and Avory. Sat down with me and we talked it up. We did the thing. But before we get to that, as I do every week, I do a little intro about what's been going down in the world of Word on the Street and the Zim and things like that. And usually around 10 minutes long. So if you don't want to listen to me talk to you about the important things that are going on in the world of Word on the Street and myself, then feel free to skip ahead about 10 minutes. Otherwise, enjoy the ride. I love having you here with me. Thanks a lot for being with me once again this week. So the biggest thing, the most important thing, the most awesomest thing that's been going down is the whole Patreon adventure we've been on. We're doing the hustle. We're doing the thing. We didn't make our March goal of what I have, 25 subscribers and $100 in support. We did not make that goal. However, we did add to the numbers. And one of the people that added to those numbers for us was the amazing Wander. If you don't know who Wander is, check it out. Probably do a Google search, Wander Music or something. Or go back to the archives of Word on the Street. She was on the podcast. We talked it up. She's amazing local artist, musician, doing her thing in the scene. She's kicking down $1 for the podcast, which is amazing. So thanks a lot, Wonder, for doing that for us. That's so sweet. I'll tell you more about the Patreon in a moment. Right now, I want to tell you one other thing that's going down this week. On Sunday, so today is Thursday the 6th. On Sunday the 9th, I am going to be on Cairo Radio FM station, terrestrial radio action with Sean DeTore. He invited me over. We recorded. It was a pre-recorded thing, but it's going to air on Sunday. He invited me over. We talked about the podcast, so I'm super excited to hopefully expose what we got going on here with Word on the Street to more of the Seattle community. Let them know about, hey, Word on the Street's, bring in the word about all the stuff that's maybe getting not as much shine in our musical community, in our community together. So take a listen, 2 p.m. on Sunday, Cairo Radio, and was it 97.3, right? So check it out, I hope it'll be cool. I think I'm excited for it. So let's do this. Let me know what you think. That'd be rad to hear some feedback. So that's going on. That's super awesome. If you want to support the podcast, there are 3 awesome ways to support the podcast. The first way, as I was mentioning, is the Patreon, patreon.com/thezim. Kick down $1 more. I am totally fine with $1. I believe $1 is totally sustainable for you, and it means a lot for me. So it's, what do I say? I say it's super low impact for you, super mega awesome impact for the Word on the Street and the Seattle and Northwest music community. So consider it. Kick down $1. Let's do this. I'm at a point where the podcast needs to start generating some income to sustain it, to help it go, to help it keep going. Just what needs to happen after this is, what did I say, 128 episodes. It's two plus years of doing this thing, and it definitely needs to kind of start to support itself. So you can make that happen. You can help do that for me, and we could do it together. So let's do it. How many more times can I say do it? All right. Another great way. I know money is a thing. Money is a thing that's hard for some of us. I get it. I'm not blind to the fact that people are struggling. People don't necessarily have all the means they need. So there are 2 other awesome ways to support the podcast that require $0 whatsoever. All it does is require you to take that phone or the computer that you're listening to, or watching, I guess. No, that's not the right way to put it, but listening to this right now on, you go onto that phone or computer and you go give the Facebook page, facebook.com/Word on the Street podcast, a like, and then share it around with your friends. And it's always, 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 always more beneficial and does more for what's going on to interact with the content. And then when you share it out with your friends, make sure you mention something about why it's important to you. They want to know, your friends want to know why it's important to you. If you just hit share, it just goes into the void of, too much noise. That's, as you know by now, there's lots and lots of content. Lots of your friends are doing lots of things. If you don't tell your other friends why it's important to you, they'll just ignore it and it'll go under the bridge like water, as they say. So let's be sure to tell your community why you like this conversation. You said, oh, Eva, Shane, Evan, Avery, they're my homies. Let's give some love. Make sure you download this podcast. Make sure you listen to Word on the Street, that kind of thing. Make sure you are actually telling your community why it's important to you that they should listen to this and interact with it and be a part of this conversation. So check it out, yo. So that Facebook page, facebook.com/Word on the Street podcast. Give it a like, share it around, interact with content. Super awesome, super dope. That would be mega rad of you, and it costs you $0. The other thing that costs you no money is to go to iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. iTunes is the place, is the big gun where all podcasts happen. If we want to make this podcast something more, then making some noise over there on iTunes is the place to do it. So if you're an iPhone user, you already have the iPod app built in the iPod. The podcast app built into your phone. It's a little purple app. It has a little person or microphone, depending on how you look at it. I think it's supposed to be a microphone, but it also kind of looks like this little person with these rings around it, which I think are supposed to be like radio waves or sound waves around it. So that little app, you click that app and you can find this podcast on that app and then go through and do all the rating and reviewing and subscribing on that little app. If you are on a desktop, if you have iTunes on your desktop, that's the other way to access it through iTunes. Rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff on iTunes. iTunes is where it's happening. Looking for another review for the podcast. So if you can do that for me, kick down a review, tell the rest of the world, tell your community why you are digging on Word on the Street. That'd be awesome. I'd love it if you did that for me. Sweet. All right. So look, we came in well under 10 minutes and we're ready to get on with the rest of this podcast with Seattle DJ Academy. It was super awesome talking to them. Super great getting a different slice of the musical community here in the Seattle scene in the Northwest. You may have noticed that this podcast is like 2.5 hours long. It's not really that long. It's only an hour of conversation, and then Shane did one of his mixes, which is an hour long at the very end of the podcast. So conversation for about an hour, and then a long mix for about an hour. So check it out if you like. All right. So let's, as I like to say, do this. All right, you guys ready? I started. Let's do it. So here we are. We're on the street. Is at Seattle DJ Academy, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You got that right.
And that's Eva. Let's go around the horn. So we have 4 people, 5 including me, talking today about stuff. We'll figure it out. So the first things first, let's just go around the horn. You could say your names and maybe, I don't know, we'd have to come up with something, maybe what you do here as part of the Seattle DJ Academy. So start over here.
My name's Evan. I'm the production teacher here at Seattle DJ Academy. I've only been here for about 2 or 3 months now. It's definitely new employment, but it's been a lot of fun. And then to my left is
Shane Vander. I'm an instructor and overall manager of the studio space.
I'm Avory Brannon. I'm a student here, but I also help design logos and other things like the flyer and for our boot camp coming up.
Cool. So we'll get a student perspective as well. That's cool. And
I'm Eva.
And Eva.
And I'm the creator.
The big gun. The boss lady. It's awesome. Sorta, kinda.
Yeah.
We'll figure out.
We take turns.
Okay. You don't want to be the boss? You're like, don't call me the boss.
Yeah, being a boss sucks.
Yeah.
I actually like being more of a leader.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good term.
More leader versus boss. I quickly found out that I'm not a boss, actually.
Okay, that sounds good. So
let's make that clear.
So before we started recording, so here's the deal. So as I was telling you, I want to tell our audience as well that, I very much want to reach out and find out a lot about what's going on in the local music community of Seattle and the Pacific Northwest and the kind of DJ culture, electronic culture, dance music, club culture is something I haven't got a lot of yet. So collectively here together, hopefully we can create a conversation. You can help me explore that, and I'll have questions for you in that world, of course. And I wanted to thank Eva as well for putting up with my persistence of because I've been bugging you, and part of the reasons I've been wanting to get your voice on this, there's a couple reasons. One is because I've kind of followed you a little bit for a long time. I went to Pressure at that Vogue, back in the day when you were spinning so cool. Drum and bass and all that stuff, and that was kind of my first exposure to a lot of that. So I've been familiar with you for a long time, and I want to just kind of, if we have time, get into some of your career as a DJ in the scene and what that's been like. But also, I make an active effort to have, and I think I'm doing a decent job at it, have the woman's perspective of being in this industry and being kind of what's going on, especially in our local scene. And I've never specifically asked the question of what it's like to be a woman doing what you're doing and stuff, but I've had, and I think maybe we'll mix that in today. Well, we'll see how it goes. But what I like to do, there's two things I like to do right off the top. And I'm doing a lot of talking. We'll get you guys in here in a second. But I'd like to do a kind of a bullet point idea, and I kind of just did a couple right now. But we definitely have the Seattle DJ Academy, and so that's the big bullet point. And we'll spend a lot of time, as much time as we need on that. But is there anything else maybe that you guys have been thinking, what it would be cool if we talked about this? Is that you mentioned there's an event coming up, sort of, or today, whatever?
We're doing something. It's a Quantum Leap Boot Camp.
Okay.
And it's a program that we've been working on for a while and testing. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to take it to the streets. Okay.
Well, we can get deeper in that. So Quantum Leap Boot Camp, yes. Bullet point kind of idea. So we'll do that. All right. So we'll just figure it out as we go. But we do definitely have to set up the theater of the mind. So you guys have to tell everybody, where are we and what does it look like in here? What is this space all about?
Foam and electronics.
Yeah.
And some really cool lights that change colors to your music. No, we are literally in a 4-story work loft in the middle of Linwood, and if you looked at our studio, you would definitely not think it's a studio from the outside because it just looks like a work loft building. And once you come in, it's pretty much, we got 2-inch foam insulation. So if you picture a recording studio just without the giant mixing board, that's basically what we have here. And then we have this big giant shelving area where we store all the vinyl that we own or that Shane owns pretty much.
Most of my vinyl,
yes. And then we have turntables, and we have right now 2 production setups, soon to be 3.
Okay.
So that's pretty much a general layout of our studio. It's pretty small, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I was walking through the building, I looked at some of the rooms and I was like, how they seem pretty small. And then I was like, oh, you guys got a decent amount of
It's
space.
actually the largest unit this building has, the largest size. Yeah.
Cool. So it's working out. Let's see. I think that pretty much describes it. I mean, I was pretty impressed. It's a place that I would love to spend a lot of time in, just being around, because it's definitely the music kind of thing.
It's definitely become a home away from home. That's for sure.
Yeah. How long did it take to set up the space?
Well, it was kind of a decision that kind of just started falling together. I met Ava, started working with her, and then me and my friend Brady, who I've been doing music for a long time, kind of saw this as an opportunity. Hey, I think this is the time to pull the trigger and do a legitimate studio outside of our house, because I've been doing studios at home for 10 years, home studio setups, and we kind of saw the momentum going. We said, let's just do it, let's build it. And then it's just kind of a migration of Seattle DJ Academy came to the studio once it was built.
Oh, okay.
And it started out just an accumulation of me and my friend Brady's gear.
Okay.
We just pooled all our stuff together, bought a bunch of sound foam insulation, and just started erecting the thing over a course of a month or so.
Sure. And what was your original intention? Just to have a space outside of your house? Were you teaching or?
I was teaching before then. I was helping instruct. We just kind of started seeing the beginnings of maybe this should be a space to be used for both personal uses and for the work I was starting to do with Ava.
Okay.
And I've always wanted a studio, like a kind of a big studio concept that is kind of a community resource.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of been a dream of mine for a long time to have a spot that's kind of a collection of resources and people to be able to use and accomplish the goals I have and the goals that like-minded people have as well with me.
Sure. So then let's tie Seattle DJ Academy into that growth. Like, how did that conversation come about, and like what happened then, like, essentially?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
So the conversation, like, how did you meet Eva? How did you go, like, okay, let's bring who was the Eva? Were you Seattle DJ Academy's like inspiration, or was there a couple people involved in that? Like,
she is the creator of Seattle DJ Academy. So maybe elaborate on the beginning of Seattle DJ Academy and segue into how we met.
It mentioned that you had you had a different location previous to coming here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just do that. Start from the bottom level. When did Seattle DJ Academy come into your brain? And then let's walk through that process. Ready?
How much time do we have? It's been a long journey, actually.
Yeah.
I just knew that I wanted to do something different. I was just couldn't be more ready.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, I've taken the DJ journey.
Yeah.
Like, I played around the world. I've played in the best clubs. I've stayed in amazing hotels. I've drank tequila in Vegas with Felix the House Cat. I've done a lot of those sort of DJ dreams, you could say, and even some producer dreams. But I wanted to take the entrepreneurial journey. I just, it kind of came from a need that there was nothing here. I mean, there just was nothing. Like, I wanted to learn new things, with everything coming out so fast all the time. Yeah. And I have such a hunger for learning, but I'm like, where am I going to learn this stuff? This is just it's kind of overwhelming, but fascinating, and I just felt like something needed to happen. And I'm no stranger to starting new things. I love that. I love novelty, innovation, as you know, started one of the first drum and bass nights in Seattle, and I love that. I love the process, and so I just wanted to take my musical aspirations to another level, but I wanted to do it in a unique way. I had been researching. I was considering doing Berklee online, but I kind of knew my learning style. I didn't think that would be I just couldn't see myself like sitting down at my computer and taking lessons. And I like the simulation type of atmosphere. I think people learn best that way, like a hands-on, but still there was nothing for doing something hands-on. So just feel like I wanted to close that gap and just start something new. And I mean, talk about humble beginnings. I mean, I'd had the whole DJ career, but this was like, okay, now I'm starting a business. And it was brutal at times. I mean, I definitely had some major adversity that I've overcome. So anyone need help with getting over adversity, I'm like the poster child for it. But it's become this really beautiful thing that's really come out of it.
So you said you wanted to learn stuff. So was it a combination of platforms like, let me create a space that I can learn things, but then also give teach?
And I had a huge desire to give back.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of people, and I'm a humanitarian. I will always, sometimes to my own detriment, I look out for people. I'm very much like, you have my back, I have yours, and that's just kind of the way I've always been. And I love helping people like succeed and watching them grow and watching the transformation happen. That's really exciting for me. I mean, I've seen that happen with Evan here. I've seen it happen with Shane, and I've even seen it happen with Avory here.
Cool. So you had the idea, you wanted to learn, you wanted to teach, you wanted to create transformation. So one of the questions I have is like, what was the model that you were working off of? Was there a model at all, or did you have to create it from ground level to do what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I didn't, I did think, DubSpot was a cool model.
Okay, what's DubSpot?
DubSpot is an electronic school out of New York.
Okay.
And I was like, and I had actually just came back from New York because Hurricane Sandy happened when I was there. So a lot of the idea that I was actually going to start a social media company there. I had an opportunity to do that. But then when that happened, I was like, that's just not, the timing wasn't right.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much came back to ground zero. I had started I'd sold everything I had. I sold my car. I had things in storage. I kind of really just have always wanted to leave Seattle.
Yeah.
And like permanently, like kiss my taillights.
Yeah.
But there were many days where I'm just like, what the F am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like it's really not, I love sun. I love warmth. So to try to build something in this atmosphere here, I equate it to the bloom where you are and like the lotus, like no mud, no lotus. It's very much been that for me.
Okay.
So very personal and just a lot of it really tests who you are as a person. Your stick-to-itness, because there are so many times I could have given up.
Yeah.
So
you didn't, obviously. We're here. We made it.
Yeah.
And so we have to fill in that gap, that space between the start and now.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
What's been like? I'm curious. Well, some of the curiosity questions I have is just what's the hunger, I guess, for your service in a sense, like. When people there's two questions here kind of. There's who are the people that want it, but then also is there like sometimes in some communities, and I'm guessing the DJ community is kind of like this, is like something that you don't go to school for, Right. So has there been like
we're disrupting education.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bold statement, but in our own way or in my own way, I kind of am, because a lot of stuff, like I can even just say finances. Like, I had plenty of opportunities to do other kinds of work. I mean, I could DJ at this point anywhere in the world, but it still doesn't mean I have something that I can call my own. That's my and home. So I really needed that. So that's one reason why I think I really stuck with it, as I needed a home and a safe place where it's not like you're just out being a gypsy, which I like that, but it has at some point you got to find your center, So that it's just been a process, like just a lot of, really helping people figure out how to achieve their dreams. Because just because I've achieved some of my dreams doesn't mean I can transfer that knowledge easily to someone else. I'm somewhat have tried to do that here, even with our team. Taking my A&R sensibility that I've kind of, my ears, and when I met Evan, who's just been a complete blessing, many blessings, counting stars, has brought so much value to everything that we do. And his presence has just taken the academy up to into the stratosphere.
Sure. And I feel like we're getting a good sense of the desire behind it, like the heart that's behind it.
Yeah.
But I want to paint a picture of like just practical a little bit more, so the person that doesn't know anything about DJing and anything about a school and anything about all that stuff can kind of like what is it that like a new student would come in here. Like what questions do you ask them, and how do you proceed to teach them the best that they can learn or whatever,
Well, that's a good question. I usually start with why.
Okay.
I like to know why do they want to learn to DJ, because it takes a lot of dedication, and if it's something that it's just sort of they're going to fit in to their schedule, and I mean, it's not that you can't fit it into your schedule, but I kind of want to gauge their level of passion and dedication, so I usually start with why.
And Avery, I'm gonna put you on the spot here since you are a student.
Yeah.
What was that like? Your first coming, like, what was your decision to come here, and then what has happened? Like, how long have you been working with this crew?
I've been working with these people for probably a couple months at this point.
Okay. So what was going through your mind when you decided you wanted to come to a DJ academy to learn rather than just trying to figure it out on your own?
The funny thing is that he came to the DJ Academy as one of my students initially, as a production student. So he came to learn to produce before he decided to. And, you know, we flip a lot of students in the situation where it's like they'll come to DJ and you'll be like, hey, you know, we offer production. Or they'll come to produce and you'll be like, hey, we offer DJing. And then normally people are like, oh, yeah, I really want to learn to play my own music, or I really want to learn to write the music that I can play.
Yeah.
So like those, once I found out how, you know, hand in hand DJing and production go, I really started to like push that on my students and push that on the students that I saw in the academy that weren't necessarily mine.
Yeah.
You know, we have a couple students that, you know, are Shane's students who he teaches DJing to, and every time I'm in the lesson, I'm always like, hey, you should come learn how to produce because it's a whole nother ball game. It's, you know, once you learn how to DJ, your music becomes DJ friendly.
Sure, yeah.
And once you learn how to produce, your DJing becomes kind of producer friendly. You don't make, you know, decisions while you're DJing that don't make sense based on like the song structure or something that you wouldn't have known unless you know, knew production or you know, DJ'd for 15 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, we are trying to take all the knowledge that is in the back of our heads and basically throw it upon our students in like a month. And we're trying to, you know, that's why we called it the Quantum Leap Boot Camp.
Okay.
Is we're going to try to get people, you know, we're not going to try, we are going to get people to a sufficient level in both DJing production in one day.
Oh, wow.
To where when they walk away, they know how to do the basics of DJing and they know how to, you know, do a little bit of basic, intermediate, and advanced production.
Okay.
So it's going to be like an 8-hour day. And, you know, the team here, when I first met them, they kind of, you know, they definitely embraced me because they had no one who was really like an in-house producer. So they once I found the DJ Academy to learn how to DJ, you know, I literally just called Eva one day and I was like, hey, and we like sat on the phone for like 3.5 hours and just like, you know, chatted about, you know, her accomplishments in Seattle, what I had done as a producer, and, you know, then I met Shane and I met this other guy named Sean who was kind of the DJ, or I mean the producer instructor, but he wasn't in-house, you know, he's got kids, so it wasn't like a full-time job or anything like that. And basically the one thing I would mention about the Seattle DJ Academy is that we push each other to our limits at all times. There's not a moment in this studio that is relaxed. It's like, you know, there's probably, we get relaxed sometimes, but whenever we're playing music or writing music, we're giving like 160% of our effort, and people are always watching you and saying like, hey, you should, you know, try this, or, oh, that was really good, or like, you know, people freak out when you nail a new scratch pattern, or, you know, you mix something in and someone's like, oh my gosh, he got it. He got the mix. Or, you know, I play one of my songs that I'm producing and people are like, all right, this is finally coming together. Or I work at home and I come back and everyone's shocked at how much work I did.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, you know, embracing environment. And of course, you know, with that comes a lot of humor. So when you mess up, everyone laughs, but it's just kind of, you know, the thing is, you know, that everyone's just joking around. It's like a big family. And, you know, our students seem to know that too, which is one of the coolest things ever, because especially like, you know, Avory or just any other student, it's almost like they realize their family too, because, you know, when we laugh when they mess up or whatever, they don't get mad. They always laugh it off, and then they, you know, try again. And they keep working, and they work really hard. All of our students work really hard.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that everyone in like our little community knows that, you know, we're a family here. It's just a small family, and you know, whatever happens, we always are still family.
And you just described like the importance of both the production and the DJ aspect to be a kind of a well-rounded kind of a person in the scene, the culture of what you're doing here. to know both of them. Was that an intention from the beginning to have both production and hands-on DJ stuff? Or
yeah, I am a producer at heart.
Okay.
I mean, my dad's a musician. Like, he's having his own second coming right now with his band. They're pretty big in Europe. And,
cool.
So, music is my passion. And I was just like, I'm creating a business around my passions, basically. So I used to geek out on a lot of production stuff so long ago. I remember even recently I found something I'd torn out of like an old magazine, I think it was like Ulrich Snaus, secrets of, just always wanted to know about the magic frequencies and just good sound. I've always been obsessed with amazing sound in my DJ sets or when I hear someone play. I'm Shazam everyone's set. I'm just it's that discovering music. It's just one of my favorite things to do in the world.
So back to the question, did both of them happen at the same time for Seattle DJ Academy?
Oh, so there was a slight, it was kind of staggered,
Okay.
actually. We had some things, a couple things we did early on that were just some free workshops.
Sure.
But it didn't get serious until Evan came on the scene.
Okay.
He totally inspired me, and he inspired everyone.
And tell me this again, when you kind of got in the mix?
I would say, well, honestly, it was kind of at the beginning of the year. It was probably more than 2 or 3 months then. I've probably been here for like, I was going to say, it's probably been like 5 or 6 months, to be quite honest. But you said that you inspired me, but I think everyone just kind of inspires each other.
Yeah.
It's like when you see someone else grow, it makes you want to grow that much more.
Yeah.
And it makes you work that much harder. And then then you start pulling all-nighters at your house, just getting work done. And it's just like, and then you come to the studio next day and you're like, guys, I just pulled an all-nighter, listen to this thing. Everyone goes, oh, and then, they go home and pull an all-nighter and work on their stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a very like give and take relationship where like everyone is like, they just inspire each other. That's the easiest way to say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Collaboration.
Cool. So kind of jumping back a little bit. So we were talking about like when a new student comes in and what the expectation is and how they find you and what they're looking to do. I was curious if we'd finish that thought.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we
jumping around a little bit.
Totally
Yeah.
finish that thought of like what it is that you offer. You said you asked the why question, right? So
yeah, I just like to find out if a lot of people are beginners.
yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I like that. It's they don't have some, preconceived notions. They just it's really, and every single person that we've had since I've started this has been amazing.
Yeah.
They're just whether it's I've had a 54-year-old nuclear physicist that loves house music.
Sure.
We have one of our current guys, Francis, who is with Microsoft, and he was one of our early successful boot campers.
Thank you for the lighting.
Yeah. Thanks, Francis. And and so everyone's process is different. So I guess that's, it is kind of tricky in that sense because, self-mastery, teaching that and, it's just having them kind of come in and see and get a feel for things, because I've been really learning about how people process information just mentally before they even see. I used to not have to worry about things like anxiety, for example. And I have to be really cognizant of that maybe it's someone who's super, super shy and they need to, and everyone learns differently too. So it's kind of getting them to come to the studio, especially on Sundays for Sunday school, has been a really great way to cultivate openness and vulnerability and feeling like you can make a mistake and you're not going to be judged.
So it sounds like Sunday school is a unique program?
Yeah.
What is Sunday school?
So that's just kind of taken on a life of its own, and we do it every Sunday, except with the exception, the Sunday that we do it for the boot camp is going to be at Galvanize and Pioneer Square. So that day we're going to be off-site.
Oh, okay.
But in general, it's just a free class, and we're actually starting to incorporate something new where we're going to spotlight a new student every month as part of their program when they're here.
So it's, the Sunday thing's a free thing?
It's free.
It's to try to tell the community.
It's just to get connected,
Okay.
basically. Come and, we're all about connection. That was the other thing. I didn't really realize how much people crave connection and tapping into that. Because there's a lot of things under the surface that sometimes we're not aware of why someone really, sometimes someone's deepest desires and also where their fears are, as Tony Robbins says, are in the same place, right? Yeah. So I never had to probe like I have, to really find out. It's not just the super surfacey thing where like, hey, I want to learn how to DJ. It's like, it's just what are they into, what do they like, what kind of person are they, and building that rapport and making a connection with them and making them feel safe is kind of a bigger deal than I ever realized. Actually,
when was that? Was there a moment of like a specific kind of moment that you could kind of process through that you're like remembering, or it's like, oh wow, there's something more going on? I
equate it to my own experience, because when I used to DJ a lot, like very like on turbocharge, like 5 gigs in a weekend or something. Yeah. I was just obsessed with music. So I was really in like the zone with just music. And sometimes you just get so obsessed with something like Derek Sivers from CD Baby. He has a great his blog. He just talks about how like 10 years will go by and you're building something and you kind of look up and it's just like you poke your head out, like what's going on in the world, and I just didn't realize how much people, I have my own, selfish musical reasons, of just kind of like other people have, could be with computers or gaming. And for me, it's been music. And it was just to get to that deeper sense of connection. Yeah. And doing it quickly when you don't know somebody. And I have been in times throughout my career where I was very vulnerable and did not realize exactly how vulnerable I truly was. I kind of understand now what celebrities go through. When you have a lot of people around you and everybody wants something, it's and actually it's a big thing of like why I even started this, because actually wanted to do something new, but then it was like DJing, and I was like, I want to transcend the whole DJing thing, and it can be very, it's an environment that a lot of times you just don't see what's beneath the surface, and you need to be aware.
So it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you got more in touch with your kind of emotional being and all the levels that you were feeling, and then you're like, oh, somebody else is probably feeling the same thing. So then it made it easier to notice when students came in. You could say, oh, they need me to be like.
I can kind of tune in to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, you figured out why they want to come here. You figured out a student.
Impact. We're trying to create impact here. That's the main, that's the ultimate difference maker. Okay. So hopefully when they come, the biggest thing I think is where I was going with that before is the sense of belonging. Yeah. I did not really realize that, because I've always, I'm from Seattle. I always felt like I belonged here. But then there was a time, quite honestly, where I didn't feel like I belonged here because I wanted to do things that were just so much bigger than, what I could conceive in my mind, seemingly. And you need to have the right co-conspirators to pull off a heist, and I finally found them.
Which
and
is funny
it took
because
some time.
I'm like the opposite. Like, I came here and this became my home. And you're trying to run away from here for a while.
I know. You brought me back in.
Well, that kind of makes me wonder. There's a question I wrote down is like, what has been, so you wanted to create something that you wanted to have impact and like for I imagine for the people that come and be a part of the space, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that spreads out. What has been the reaction to the community, like the DJ community, the electronic music community, the dance community, in hearing about what you wanted to build? And like, has it been supportive? Has it not been? Like,
I've been very secretive.
Yeah.
Actually. I kind of always, I don't know. I don't know why I'm always so secretive, and I don't really mean to be. It's just, I'm not really a person that is just like, hey, look at me. Yeah. Look what I'm doing. Attention. I just wanted to quietly, one of my favorite sayings is work in silence and let success be your noise.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got my head down and I just wanted to do something different. And the people that kind of could pick up on it were the early adopters. We had some really wonderful people that they've become part of our family. Wes Jones, who was one of our first.
Move back to Seattle, Wes.
Yeah, come back, please. And oh man, so yeah, I was just really kind of quiet about it because I wanted to make new connections. I wanted to meet new people. Yeah. I want to do something new. I kind of done the whole. I've DJ'd, every club here practically. Yeah. And been such a part of a very specific scene.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to just personally, I needed to break my own mold, so to speak, and just break out and do something different. And we had things like, Sub Pop, had a record label here, but I kind of always wanted to have a label.
Yeah.
But it was never a good time. I've wanted to have a label since like before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened. It was like all the labels folded. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm never having a label, and I still don't have a label. But Evan, we've talked about it, and I think it would be really cool if Seattle had something that was significant in that. And I also, just beyond the DJing, I have to say that other type of partnerships that have come out of this, like Mac, we've had support from Apple.
Oh, okay.
And we'll take that a step further. And it's just been really inspiring because, again, going back to the need to learn, most producers, many producers use Mac.
Yeah.
And I'm a Mac fan. And part of the inspiration behind the Academy is also inspired by Steve Jobs, actually. Wanting to be an entrepreneur. If you're going to be one and you're going to create something unique and special, why not, Apple and Nike were back to the kind of business model thing. Those were my business models.
So there's a bit of
there's a loop.
There's a bit of a paradox in a way for me right now with the wanting to be quiet, wanting to access a new scene.
Yes.
And then create something like, what was the struggle in both accessing a new scene, like, and then also being able to do it quietly, like how, and then like, do you understand what I'm
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. I think, meeting Shane was just kind of an entry point, a gateway, I guess you could say, because I was just doing a little art party with my friend Joey, who's an amazing artist, Joey the Paintbrush, and we'd done a couple of really successful art parties together, and I didn't really think much of it, and I walked in, and Shane was playing, and he was just doing his thing. He was doing turntablism, and I've honestly, I have roots in turntablism. I used to be really into, it was Sir Mix-a-Lot. I've been in it, one of his videos and on the back of one of his album covers. So I have that, that early hip hop influence. But kind of Shane just took me back to that place, and that kind of brought back that musical connection. And we were just so happened we were going to start doing some scratching at the time. So honestly, it was a lot of synchronicities started. I mean, it was crazy. It was like I would think it and it would just show up.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So define the scene that you were getting out of. Was it mainly like, so you're saying is for you, you're distinguishing turntablism as a new scene.
No, not as a new scene.
Been around for a long
No,
time.
not as a new, but a new scene for you to access.
Well, no. Here, let me clarify.
I'd like a back to roots.
So here's
thing.
let me just say where I'm struggling a little bit.
Okay.
It's like you're a DJ.
It is complicated.
You're a DJ. You started the DJ Academy.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you wanted to access a new scene.
Yeah.
Was it was the scene had anything to do with music?
Well,
or was the scene...
no, I didn't really want to access one. I wanted to create one.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I thought, this is crazy, but I kind of, I'm a very creative person.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
my thing, is creativity. And I just think back to some of the early things that I did, like the drum and bass nights with, cultivated with the help of some amazing people. We built the drum and bass scene here that people don't know who I am to this day, but they know there's a drum and bass scene.
Now they know.
So I just went back. I said, you know what? I'm the first person to bring Diesel Boy. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do what I've always done and just be the first and we're talking boldness. Just step out. Did I have fear? Yeah, I had tons of fear because I really didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
I got to be on. I can't stand the rain.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like, something out of Batman, just that, where he's climbing up he has to do it without the rope.
Yeah.
It's been not for the faint of heart.
Okay.
At all. But it's been, I can say, sitting out and looking around at you guys, how worth it has been at this point. It's like, I'm in a beautiful state now because these guys, I could not do this without them. Yeah. There's no way.
Awesome. So let's.
So I created my own scene.
Let's look at this picture. Let's step back and look at what we've been talking about. We've been talking about community has been a very big, important part of it. Creating something new. What about like Seattle DJ Academy? Have we not mentioned that we want to mention? Like the work ethic, working hard together, inspiring each other.
Yeah.
Like, is there something else that maybe hasn't been brought up in this conversation yet that you're aware of, that what Seattle DJ Academy brings to the students and each other?
It's just kind of hit me is just the level of musicality.
Yeah.
I mean, my expertise only goes to so high.
Yeah.
And that's why Evan became such a crucial piece to the puzzle, because he's got 12 years classical piano, and background in music theory. Shane brings, his passion for, wires and his, computers, and just his nerdiness. And it fits so well with, where I'm lacking, fits, we all complement each other.
Cool.
And it's like kind of different age groups. We have like 3 different generations right here, basically.
Okay.
And like, it just creates a diversity and all the different stuff we're into. It's kind of really helped move the thing along. And I was thinking segueing back to what you're talking about. It's like me and you, we've talked about it's like back to roots, because I'm into a lot of the old school stuff and new school stuff, and a lot of that stuff influenced me, and that's how I met you. I mean, I was playing at that art party where it was about 30 and 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
And a lot of the records I have are records that age group likes.
Yeah.
I know. You're an old soul.
And so that's kind of how that kind of started. At least meeting you.
It was a surprise. I never would have imagined. But it was a time where I was like, I'm going to do this hell or high water. I'm tenacious like that.
Yeah. So did we paint a good picture of what Seattle DJ Academy is right now? Do you feel like we did?
The only thing I would add is we haven't had, this might be boasting a little bit, but we haven't had a student come in and ask us for something that we can't give them.
Oh, okay, sure.
I challenge my production students to bring me something I can't work on.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, like I was up until 7 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
Like I fell asleep and then woke up at noon just because I was working on a project. We are relentless.
Yeah.
We will get you to where you want to be, and we will get you there as fast as you're willing to. Like we will take your pace.
Yeah.
And if it means that we're going to work 3 times a week for 2 hours, okay, cool. If it means we're going to work every day for 8, I'm fine with that. Just be there and have your A game. And I'd love to see, a student bring me something that is, a huge challenge, because challenge, that's what drives, me. I know it drives Shane sometimes. I know it drives everyone in this place, a challenge.
Yeah.
When someone says, I challenge you to this or do this, and people can't do it, and they're like, okay, I'm going to work on this. And then it's like, you create a monster is what Shane and I say. We're like, well, what have I created? And then, 3 days later, this person is just grinding on this task, whether it's a mix that they're doing or just something as simple as trying to get one little thing, the crossfader to close on a scratch pattern, just like a split second faster. Or it could just be, something easy like communication skills within the business, pulling back from the music scene a little bit. There's a lot of things that like we challenge each other to do, and every single time all of us just step up to the challenge and say, all right, let's do it.
But we meet people where they're at when they come to us. I mean, if they're just, I want people to feel comfortable. That's the main thing, that we're very open arms here.
Cool. Well, that's kind of a good segue into my next kind of question, is basically just what's next? What's up? We mentioned the Quantum Leap class. What did you call it?
Boot camp.
Quantum Leap Boot Camp.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Is there other, like when you sit back on your couch or whatever and you're thinking about, exactly, as we are actually doing right now.
On the futon. You
think about the Seattle DJ Academy, like what is the goal? Like one of the things I ask musicians and other people when they're like, and this is relevant, just take it out of the musician's context, and it's just like something you're creating and you want more from it.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, what is that goal of yours? What is that blue sky kind of idea that you'd like to see happen that hasn't happened yet? And if you could just wave your magic wand and make it happen, what would that be?
I know exactly what that would be.
Yeah.
I want us to work with some really well-known, like famous artists. I think to get this studio up to par, to professional level at some point. I mean, when I say professional, I mean like state-of-the-art recording studio type of thing. I think would be like the ultimate goal.
Yeah, pretty much basically the whole musical pipeline, like a community where we help foster and grow artists and have the medium from them to both make, perform,
platform,
and get their music out there. I think that's
social
that's
media.
why I jumped in myself. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, I had this idea in my head that I wanted to create this thing that is like I said earlier, like a nexus point of people and resources to both accomplish my goals and the people I want to be involved with.
Yeah.
And that's like why she stumbled across me, like, oh wait, what you're doing? Like, you have the basic core construct of like some of the goals I want to have within my personal.
Yeah, and I want everyone to have financial freedom. I am serious. I actually stole Evan out of his job at Target, and I'm not done. I mean, I'm working on Shane, and sorry, Target, but we win. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm going even deeper with that. Like, there's a whole financial fitness thing I'm working on that's like, it's like another layer around this of, protection around the business. And because you need to have as Warren Buffett says, you need to have a moat, around your business. And I've learned from the past, I've given up my ideas freely and having them actually stolen from me, and, kind of painful. But I always have another idea, right? But I've learned now I need to protect my ideas. So, and social media, just kind of more in the media sector.
Sure.
Because there's a lot I can help people with their social media.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of something I really like to do is help people with branding and like, you know, do their headshots for them, you know, go on location. I mean, so Evan, I feel like Evan is like my protege here, you know, because, you know, it went from a phone conversation to like him just like I introduced him to Drew, who was in our King 5 episode when they came out and filmed us. And they're now a duo, you know, boom, overnight. Evan's here unpacking his piano and, you know, it's like, you know, check mark, it's done, you know, so.
Cool. So it sounds like to bring up Seattle DJ Academy to be, I'm going to use the word holistic kind of place for artists to come. You know, I could see it like based on what you were just saying, like maybe they're not here anymore for learning how to DJ, but they've established themselves at a level and they're like doing something, but they need some more collateral. They need that social media help. They need those headshots and things, and they can be incorporated in the community.
Or reference to venues and people around the community. Where
being a resource and authority.
It's all about connections. This industry is completely about connections, and I am living proof of that. You know, like I can say it. You know, I'm working with The Weeknd right now as a project, and you said, you know, how, you know, wave your magic wand. Well, literally that happened to me like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
When I got a call from Interscope Records, which is the largest record company in the world right now, and they offered me a position as a trial producer. Okay. They sent me lyrics of a top 40 artist, and they said, we need you to build a track, and now I'm doing that, and then the track just got placed. Oh, wow. Which means it's going to be released. Cool. So, you know, the waving of a magic wand happened. Like Interscope, you know, is now sending us paperwork to, you know, do a potential sponsorship for our company and buy us tons of new gear, like, you know, club standard stuff, you know, new CDJs and stuff. And I'm, you know, the magic wand almost, you know, didn't exist because I wasn't like trying to wave it. It was like I was just kind of getting myself set, you know, trying to like, okay, now I want to start making a goal. Oh, wait, what the heck? Interscope just called my phone. Like, it's so fast. It was so fast paced, and everyone here was so supportive of it that it was just like, it just happened.
Well, and it sounds like that idea, just again, calling back to earlier in the conversation where you were saying like the things that you're wanting are just manifesting in front of you, and you just said you want names, and then your name might be in house, you know, if that track blows up or whatever, you know, it's like all of a sudden.
But that's again, it's another kind of gateway, and I just, you know, I just really wanted to come to a point where, like Russell Simmons talks about like not chasing people. And I just want or the attractor factor, you know, instead of like chasing people and like, hey, come to our thing, you know, hopefully, you know, the energy that's emanating from here, and it's kind of like a little Muscle Shoals or something, you know, like we just have our own vibe going on here, and it's kind of different than what you're going to find at maybe another school. You know, it's more specialty.
Awesome.
So we want to build on that.
The biggest thing about this school that makes us different from Dubspot and, you know, all those other schools is every lesson is individual. You know, I've only taught a very like few amount of DJ classes, like very basic DJ classes, because I'm not as a, you know, proficient DJ as, you know, Eva or Shane, but, you know, I can teach beginners. But I can tell you right now, in production classes, people bring in their tracks, their music, and we work on their music for the whole time. When someone walks into one of my classes, I do not have a curriculum. I simply have a leveling chart that I hand them, and I say, are you level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And you don't want me to go into the levels because I will talk for 4 hours.
Well, we're about the end anyway.
Right,
so.
But you know, I hand them that, and I say, what level are you? Just so I can get a generalized thing, you know, generalized mindset of, you know, how good they are as a producer, what they know. And then, you know, when they walk in the door and they start telling me, hey, you know, I'm a hip-hop producer, my mind is there and I am ready to work with this person. That's what makes us special, is that we are individualized, we are organic, we are small. And the thing is that, you know, as we grow, one of the big things that we have told each other is that we will stay that way no matter how big this company gets, is that we need to make sure that every student here gets an individual, you know, curriculum based around their needs, instead of, you know, the stereotyping certain people based on their skill level and then setting a curriculum to that. Because, there might be that one kid who's shy and can't answer, doesn't want to ask that question, but that question is the gateway to that next level. If it's individualized, then he doesn't have the choice to not ask that question because it's just me and him in the room, right? It's like you don't have that option, and then that kid will grow quicker.
Cool.
So I think that's the number one goal, is just keep individualized and organic.
Awesome. Well, as we alluded to just a moment ago, we're pretty much getting to the end of this conversation. Is there anything...
I'm sad.
I know, it's been great. I feel like, so just as a personal note, I feel it's been awesome, and I feel there's so much more that could be explored, like for my personal investigation of like the more like Seattle music scene conversation as well, and how this fits into it, and how each of you as individuals fit into it. Like, just to put on record, you're all welcome to be a part of this conversation again as individuals or as a collective again, because there's just so much more that I believe can be talked about. So hopefully, if you like it, you'll reach out, and
it was a lot of fun.
We'll make more of it happen.
Thanks, Alex.
But is there anything? You're welcome. I like to go by Zim. By the way,
that's what I said on your podcast.
Zim.
Yeah.
Okay, Zim.
That's all good though.
Yeah.
But is there anything like final thought that we want to drop in? Let's do like what's the website or whatever.
I got one thing that we could circle back to is you had mentioned about being like a woman-owned business type of thing.
Sure.
And I actually started a program. I created a program for girls specifically. It's called Music for Girls.
Oh, cool.
And I have one girl, the Miles. She's from Brazil, and she's our kind of our tester for that. And it's just funny for someone who's come out of like, I've DJ'd with like all guy DJ crews, drum and bass, about as like aggro as you can get. And I never really, it just, I think it's, I'm into equality, it doesn't woman or man. It's like, do you have it?
Yeah.
Do you have what it takes? Whether it's a producer or building a business, because it is not easy.
Yeah.
And just sticking with, being true to yourself and being who you are and not compromising that. And, even when it gets hard, just keep believing in yourself, as cliche as that sounds, but it's true.
My thing that I've come to recently is as this idea of belief. It's like it's easier to believe in something when it's already happening, right? So you have to put yourself in the space that it's already happening and put that belief.
Yes,
there.
you act as if
it's amazing. It's a trip, because when you notice it, when you feel it, and it's actually happening, you're like, oh, I get it. So you just got to remember that feeling.
It's that feeling. Yeah, feeling as if it's already happened.
Yeah,
it does work.
Awesome. So Seattle DJ Academy, what's the hand? How can people get a hold of you guys?
The website is. It's really a land. We had a great website, and we were kind of creating something new now. And it's actually a landing page, so it's very simple, one page. But the best way is if someone wants to just text.
Okay.
That's for the fastest response. And we're all about speed around here too. So if you want a fast response, you can text me through the website.
Okay.
I'll take care of you.
And there's a link. So what is the URL for the website?
Okay, so it's www.seattledjacademy.com.
Straight up.
Yes.
Obvious.
And also the Facebook page. Seattle DJ
Facebook
Academy.
page, it needs to be. Speaking of social media,
And shout out to our Quantum Leap Boot Camp. It's going to be our first big one. It's offsite. It's going to be absolutely crazy. We rented out, the bottom part of Galvanize. We got two huge monitors. It's going to be a great clinic for anyone who's just beginning. If you're, listening to the podcast, that one's happening on April 2nd, Sunday. It's going to start in the morning and end in the evening, and we're providing lunch for the full day students. So definitely text Eve about that. We only have 15 slots. It's pretty limited.
We might have missed the cutoff because this is coming out 3 weeks from now. So.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, but we'll have another one then.
But it was dope, and then catch the second one.
Yeah, catch the second one. There you go, exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. So I do want to close it out with music. Do we have an idea, again, of what we want to do?
We could close with the CrouchCast.
Could do that, yeah.
I like that idea.
All right, man.
Let's do that.
You're up.
Whatever that is.
All right. CrouchCast is just my year-end mix. I do something. Well, my own side name is the Crouch Lounge or Le Crouch Lounge.
Okay.
And I have I try to do monthly. It's not always monthly, but I do a monthly mix. And
where can people find it?
It's on Le Crouch Lounge Facebook page
Okay.
or my Facebook page, Shane Vander Voss.
Okay.
Or Meshmind SoundCloud account.
Okay.
Or the Crouch Lounge SoundCloud account.
Okay. Cool. So you'll drop in one of those. What is it going to be, like the Marches mix, I guess? Or you said one monthly? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's usually a monthly mix. This one's the one I did at the end of December. It was my year-end mix.
Oh, year-end. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You might have to do a new one.
I could do a new one. We'll see. Maybe
Should
I'll
do
drop
a
you a
new
new
one
one
on-
here.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll get
New
you
one on
something
records.
Okay.
We'll surprise
between
you.
us.
All right. Cool. Well, we'll get to hear a mix. It can be as long as you want it to be. So it's all good.
Maybe a Seattle DJ. You know what? One thing we do, I'll mention really quick. What we
Yeah.
do is really fun sometimes. Is we'll have a student come in, like Francis is a perfect example, come in and we'll all, like Shane and Francis and I or Evan, one of us will start mixing and then someone will just jump in and pretty soon we have
Okay.
like 3 or 4 people mixing.
Sure.
So that's a really fun thing too. So maybe it'll be a Seattle DJ Academy mix.
Okay. It'll say in the description of the podcast what it actually ended up being.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could just be a bunch of screaming goats, you know.
Yeah.
Prepare for noise of some sort.
Cool.
Yes, exactly.
Well, once again, this was awesome. Thanks a lot. I think we got it. Sounds great. Thanks, Avery. You weren't on as much, but your presence was felt. I can feel it. It's awesome. Thanks. So, well, the way I like to close this out is remember to party at the Moon Tower.
exciting sounds. Some suggested dangerous and frightening incidents. Others were strange and mysterious. But of course, there are many sounds that are pleasant to listen to. First sample. Now on this record, you have heard several exciting sounds. Some suggested dangerous and frightening incidents. Others were strange and mysterious. pleasant to listen to, pleasant to listen to, pleasant to listen to. This beautiful sound, this beautiful sound. First sound. Now, yeah. Now on this record. Yeah. Now.
in the room while we watch the TV. Turn it up a it in the book while we watch the TV. You live a shitty like we live the bomb bomb V. Hide it in the book while we watch the TV. Turn it up a little bit more. Turn it up a little bit more. Turn it up a little bit more. Turn it up a little bit more.
I can do it. Records is like pimp. Everybody had their vibe. I can do it. Everybody had their vibe. I can do it. One thing I hate to do in records is like pimp. Everybody had their vibe. This is a record we had right about that time. And I said, well, I'm gonna save this song. One thing I hate to do in records is like pimp. Everybody had their vibe. Do it, I can do it. Pimp music. This is a record we had right about that time. Everybody was just piling, especially when they hear something going on that sounded pretty good. Everybody had their vibe. This is a record we had right about that time. So well, I'll save this song. Everybody had their vibe. Do it, I can do it. This is a record we had right about that time. Everybody was just piling, especially when they hear something going on that sounded pretty good.
The child was given food, but did not eat it. The child was given shelter, but did not sleep it. The child was given food, but did not eat it. The child was given shelter, but did not sleep it. The child was given food, but did not eat it. The child was given shelter, but did not sleep it. The child was given food, but did not eat it. The child was given shelter, but did not sleep it.
All right, you made it to the end. Oh my God, that was amazing. It was a lot longer than you expected, wasn't it? If you made it this far, I love you so much. That was long because we put that mix in. We put an hour mix into the mix. Sweet. Was it dope? I hope you liked it. So a couple things to mention here at the end. Be sure to do all those things I was talking about at the top. Become a Patreon subscriber. Go to facebook.com/Word on the Street Podcast. Give the page a like, share it around with your friends, and go to iTunes and do the things on iTunes that you would normally do. There are a bunch of other great ways to support the podcast. Go to YouTube, youtube.com/thezimvideo, and I do a video journal every week, and subscribe to that page. And on that video journal, I'll do things like talk about the podcast, like kind of behind the scenes aspects of it, other things that I've been going down in the musical and artistic journey of the Zim and Word on the Street and things like that. So check it out. Go find us on YouTube as well. And of course, at the end of every one of these, I've been doing a promo code, a discount code for my clutch product I make, clutch purse I make. And it's Alexander Thomas is the name of the company. And this week's discount code will be MIX, MIX 35. So you get 35% off anything over there on that Etsy store. The page will be linked up to the description of the podcast. It'll be in the bottom of the description on WOTSpodcast.com. All right, that's good. I'll catch you next week. Peace.